I want to talk a little bit about the inciting incident when you're writing a novel. So what happens before the inciting incident is the character's normal world, and what you want to do as you're writing this normal world is you want to identify where your character is mentally and emotionally in their lives, you know, the things that they are struggling with, the things that they are maybe wanting but can't go after for, you know, whatever roadblock it is, whether it's some kind of internal roadblock or a perceived external roadblock that isn't really there, you know, like perception they have about a person that they want to approach and thinking that that person will reject them, so they don't do it. And as you're writing that bit, you know, as the writer, what's going to happen in the inciting incident. And you want to leave little breadcrumbs of what is going to happen in that inciting incident. You want the reader to see this building. You want to leave curiosity seeds, and you want to kind of almost foreshadowing in a way, like what's going to happen. You're building up to that thing to happen and setting up the circumstances for it to happen, so it can happen organically. And then you have the inciting incident, the thing that happens, right? So the thing happens, and then after the inciting incident. So when you're looking at the inciting incident, it's an event that happens. So you have your first part of your novel, things are kind of going normal, your character is stuck, they're struggling, they're not happy, whatever is going on in their lives. And then you have the buildup. Those are the breadcrumbs. Those are the things that are happening that are building up towards that inciting incident. Even the things like your characters lie in misbelief, and the things that they believe are true but aren't, you know, those things are part of that breadcrumb, part of that buildup. And then you have the inciting incident, and then you have the second half of that inciting incident. And what happens there is your character's reacting to it. And there has to be something that's stopping the character from accepting the call to action that the inciting incident brings up. So let's bring romance into this, right? So your character, they meet the cute guy, and then the inciting incident happens where they're like forced to connect to the cute guy or girl or whoever, right? So they're forced to connect to that person. They're like meet head to head, and there's an opportunity to spend more time with that person, whatever that opportunity is, right? That's the inciting incident. Then the downfall from that is the character being like, no, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. I shouldn't do this, XYZ. Or an external event saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. You know, somebody externally saying, no, you can't do this. No, this is a bad idea. Maybe the main character is married and their best friend is saying, no, you're married. Like you can't go see this other guy. You know, you're married. That's a bad idea. These may be really bad examples, but the best examples I can come up with at the moment. And so there are, and then as you're coming off of that, you get to the first plot point is where the thing happens that makes the no to the call to action impossible. Like you have to say yes. Like the main character has to accept the call to action that happened in the inciting incident based on what happens in the first plot point. So as you can see, it's not just like we have our character in the normal world, then we have an event that happens, and then we have some downtime, and then the first plot point. It all weaves together, and the inciting incident is its own little hill. Like its own little, like you have to build up to it. You have to get the readers there. You have to drop breadcrumbs. You have to make them interested. You have to keep them interested. And that is a really, really good tip. Like scene to scene should build. You should leave each scene with the reader being like, well, what's going to happen now? You know, you want from the very beginning, you want your reader saying, well, what's going to happen in the next scene? So you want to end your scene with like tiny little, like cliffhanger things, not even like, but something that could be answered in the very next sentence, you know? So keeping your reader reading, building up to that inciting incident, leaving foreshadowing, breadcrumbs, things that happen that will eventually domino into the inciting incident happening. Then you have your inciting incident. Then you have the downhill, which is the no, you know, either the character or an external force saying no. That downhill, and that's going to take up pretty much the same amount of space as the hill up, right? So you're going to have that like nice little hill there. And then as you're coming down, bam, that first plot point hits and the main character has to go on that journey. And that first plot point, like it's its own thing. But that first plot point is your entry into the second act, where like the main bulk of your book happens. So that's my description of the Inciting Incident. I hope it was helpful. Best resource that I can offer you right now is KM Weiland. So she has a book on the story structure. 100%, like that is a must read. And then she also has her Helping Writers Become Authors podcast series. Must listen. Like I highly recommend you pull out the podcast, put your earbuds in, grab pen, paper, and take notes, because it's not like I try to listen to it while I'm driving, but oftentimes I end up like pulling up my notepad and doing like voice to text notes and pausing the podcast, because it's just so information packed, and the way she explains things they make so much sense in ways that I've never heard from other people. So that's my description of the Inciting Incident. I would like to keep this series going and talk more about the rest of the story structure. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you found it helpful, comment what you found helpful, because that would be great for me. And subscribe if you're new. And I look forward to seeing you next time.